What's up, everyone? I'm Thunder, and welcome back to the PDL podcast. Today, we're diving into the Kanto Conference post draft review, breaking down the picks, the steals, and who might already be looking playoff ready. I'm joined by returning guest CocoPuffs. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. Glad to be back.
And I'm also joined by one of the most experienced veterans in the PDL. We got Easton here. What's up, man?
Yo, Thunder, doing good, doing good. Happy to
Uh,
be here.
all right, and we're gonna just get right into it with the red group. So these are the teams, and I guess we'll just start with the first team. So we got the South Austin Dugongs. We'll start with CocoPuffs. What are your first initial thoughts?
Yeah, just so definitely a trick room team, right? What we're
Yeah.
looking at here, you got the I think they drafted Ursaluna and Cresselia first, right? So they have the classic combo with the Earthquake spam and the good trick room setup. Um, Not a bad team overall. I think you got some good options in the trick room. You have Brute Bonnet, you have screens with Klefki, you have Registeel, and maybe like an Instruct Arangaroo. Uh, I think this team just the only thing is it struggles outside the trick room. You have the bundle for some like just like a fast option outside, not requiring the tailwind. Maybe Volcarona with like some redirection or screens, but I think probably for me in the upper half, probably one of the better trick room teams in this conference. Um, I'm not sure what you guys think.
What do you think, Easton?
Um, it's probably one of the better Trick Room teams that were picked up through any of the divisions this season. Uh, I do still feel this is maybe a middling team, not a top playoff expector.
Hmm.
I especially don't think the Feraligatr pick is very good. Especially with Suicune still being available in this division. It's a crime to have picked Feraligatr instead of Suicune. Um, obviously the Trick Room core is very strong, but I do corroborate with CocoPuffs on the fact that the fast mode is kind of just bundle and baby Volcarona, and definitely it's not enough for a balance mode or a hyper offense mode. Even with the screen's support from Klefki, I feel like it will struggle.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you guys. He definitely has a very strong like mode and trick room with Ursula and Cresselia, even like Brute Bonnet to like play redirection. Arangu is definitely an interesting one too with Instruct. Not sure. I guess Instruct Facade might hurt a lot of teams, but yeah, besides Trick Room, he doesn't really have a different really like mode to play in. I only can really see Bundle and maybe Volcarona play outside like in a like more of a speedy slash like non-Trick Room team, but I don't know, it just feels like Iron Bundle is like misplaced on this draft. Maybe it could be something else because I just don't see a fast team here to be honest. But the Trick Room mode team is I think it's pretty decent with Ursula Cresselia. I just don't know if it's gonna be enough to carry this team because it's a lot of weight on those two Pokemon to carry.
Yeah, it's kind of nice that he has a lot of different options for setting and resetting Trick Room. I know a couple of other teams we'll get into later only have one Trick Room Pokemon despite drafting a Trick Room team,
Yeah,
which is not sufficient. It's nice that there's two really reliable options in Cresselia and Oranguru, and I believe Mr. Mime gets Trick Room, which is another option. Not that that's the reason why you would bring it anyway. Just helpful for keeping yourself in the offensive rather than the defensive.
hmm,
I think it's a really good point too to mention that the Suicune's still up in this conference with the Gen 2 pick. I mean, I think Suicune probably is just a straight upgrade here over for Alligator, as much as a silly little guy for Alligator is. I'd almost like to see this team dive more into the Trick Room mode. I think it's a good enough Trick Room team that you can just kind of fully commit into it. Maybe drop the Feraligatr, pick up a Suicune, maybe even with the bundle, like maybe like just like a strong Gen 9 flying type or like a Levitate user, something that could synergize with the Ursaluna more. Because really, right now, if you're hitting Earthquake, it's just next to Cresselia or the Telepathy or Angaroo. So
yeah.
I think I almost want to see this team like I know we preach the versatility so much, but I almost want to see this team lean more into the Trick Room and just say, I'm bringing Trick Room. How are you going to stop me? If I get it up, you're losing.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. Type chart is pretty good though on that side at least. Only having what's called one like resistive fire, which is not the worst, but overall, it's, at least the type chart's pretty good. I'm
Yep.
I'm a pretty big fan of Mr. Mime though. After seeing that like last night in the draft, I think it's a pretty versatile Pokemon. Can do a lot of different things. Its HP and defense is not good, but its special defense and special attack is pretty decent. Its 90 speed is also pretty decent, and because it's a Generation 1 Pokemon, it gets a lot of different moves you have to be careful of, especially Follow Me. It's one that I learned about. I didn't even know that Mr. Mime got Follow Me.
It also gets Fake Out, no? So it has
Yes.
a lot of different support options it can provide. It's got 3 interesting abilities as well. I assume you'd use Technician the least of the 3, but they all have their own value in the whatever matchup you have.
Yeah, I believe the
For sure, an
other
interesting pickup.
abilities is Filter and Soundproof, so it's pretty 3 strong abilities, so it's pretty nice Pokemon.
Hmm.
Any other thoughts
Yeah.
on this team, or should we move on?
I think the team is also a little bit passive, if you know what I mean. Like, just looking at the base stat totals, there aren't that many offensive threats. There's a ton of supportive Pokemon, and I also kind of feel Registeel is a little bit misplaced here. It's not a Gen 1 Pokemon, so it doesn't get all the really cool Gen 1 support options that you would normally see. It's very well, not necessarily one-dimensional, but it lacks the versatility that you could have in that slot.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I think the most scariest thing I could see coming out from this team is like getting Ursulina obviously under Trick Room, and then like clicking Facades for days, and a regular just clicking Instruct, and then like that's just like a massive damage threat you have to deal with on this team. But if you can somehow not allow Trick Room or make sure like a Oranguru cannot click Instruct permanently, there's definitely ways to play around the team for sure.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right, we can move on to the next team. So the next team we got is D1's Dittos. Just can start off with
Yes.
Easton this time.
This is a team that I don't really understand. There's a lot of different cores available in this team between Sand with Tyranitar, Lycanroc, and maybe Aegislash. It's got the Psychic Terrain core with Indeedee, Armarouge, although Armarouge is being swapped for Iron Crown now. And then you've got the core of Weezing Galar with Regigigas, which gives Regigigas the ability to actually function. But it's just kind of a mismatch of a lot of cores that don't really function well with each other. I don't see a great speed tiers either. It doesn't have a great trick room mode either. Like, I just don't understand what the win con of this team is going to be week to week. And despite having some really good individual Pokemon, it doesn't feel like a team to me.
Yeah, it's a interesting team. I don't really see like any like I guess my main concern is like a certain mode. I guess like he has like multiple different modes, but there's no like I feel like primary mode like your win con for each week because he has like your like you said like the sand mode, the psychic terrain trick room with Armarouge and DD combo mode, and then like Weezing and Regigigas mode, and then the rest of Pokemon just kind of feel like they're just like they're supporting as best as they can.
Yeah, I mean, bonus points for picking your mascot, which is the Ditto, but
True.
like if you're looking at the type chart too, 0 resistances to electric and water and 1 resistance to rock is extremely rough.
I think the
Those
chart
are
shouldn't
very
be
common types,
it
right?
shouldn't be showing 0 electric because he has Volt Absorb Thunderstarian. That's a mistake I think on the sheet.
Oh, is
Because
it? And
Thunderstarian has Volt
okay.
Absorb, so he should have at least one immunity to it, but it's still pretty low resistances.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I mean, I think you guys pretty much cover everything. It's just you see 2 or 3 cores of 2 or 3 Pokemon, and once again, we praise the versatility, but it's almost like you want to see a little overlap between your Pokemon and their overarching goal. I just don't see the strong Trick Room mode for when you go with Indeedee Armor Rouge. Like you set up the terrain and then you kind of want to get Trick Room up. I don't see the follow up, and then the Wheezing Regigigas is kind of here alone. You don't really want to turn off some of your other abilities. Yeah, just a little. I think just a little bit of helter skelter here in terms of team synergy.
Yeah, it's I guess the way I could see it playing week to week is like you look at your enemy opponent and you'd be like, okay, well if they're like a fast mode, then I guess I'll try to like play like an DD Armor Roost Trick Room kind of style with this like maybe slower Pokemon like Weezing Galar and maybe like Tyranitar. And then like if he's playing against like maybe a faster team, maybe he'll try like the Sand Rush Lycanroc midday with Tyranitar, or maybe like set up Tailwind for Thunder's Theory and some other Pokemon that maybe outspeed like some Trick Room Pokemon, but that's really the way I see this team playing out week to week.
Yeah.
The speed control on this team is a little rough too, no? Because his base speed is pretty low in the first place, so
Yeah.
you kind of have to rely on Sandrush, Lycanroc to help you out. Or I believe Volbeat gets the Prankster Tailwind, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
So Volbeat's going to have to do a lot of carrying to get some of these middling speed Pokemon into the game, and a lot of teams might have some stronger options.
Yes.
I think important to note, if you're bringing Volbeat, you might be missing out on one of those Pokemon you want for your whatever mode you're trying to execute under the Tailwind, right?
Yeah.
That's important too, yeah.
I guess the one thing could be interesting is definitely the Ditto. Copying someone's like, like OP Pokemon or like their good Pokemon could be definitely something you can do, like keep Ditto in the back and then like I don't know if there's like a spec share with +2 for some reason, you can copy those stats. So it's like an interesting thing teams should keep in mind when playing against this team. But overall, just it's a little bit like lacking in the department of like having a consistent mode versus like this team is more of like it might be this mode this week, it might be this mode this week, and there's just like no like consistency maybe.
Yeah, versatility is important, but you have to have versatility with like a reasonable plan, and it's just hard to make a more concise plan than other teams with what you have drafted.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's about it for this draft.
Yeah, can move on to the next team. We got Strix team here with the
You can start
classic
first this time.
with the classic Chien-Pao Dragonite combo. Obviously, the great combo, extreme speed with Sword of Ruin is gonna hurt a lot of teams. Entei, another great physical attacker that couple with the Chien-Pao. And he's got other great physical attackers too, like Ogerpon that can play Redirection, has Defiant to help out with the Intimidate that this team might be looking at every week. He has also competitive Empoleon to also deter away the Intimidators. And I like the Grimmsnarl on this team because it gives him like a low-key like a second mode that he can play. He can play like screens with Dragonite, Entei, and like even like Tornadus Therian. It gives him like a second way of playing, so he's not so frail to like offensive moves. It's like how I'm thinking about this draft. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Just a heads up, just realizing going back, last team did switch out the Iron Crown. It is a caveat for the Indeedee. I think just a little stronger on the expanding force mode, probably a little better for his typings. But overall, I don't think it changes too much.
Okay, yeah, I
agree.
forgot that. I didn't catch that. I forgot. Yeah, he didn't make that trade today.
Yeah, it just went through today. And the reason I was thinking about that is I think the Furfuro got switched out for something. Does anyone remember?
It got switched out for Dragalge, I think. Is that what it was?
Yep. It's Dragalge. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I like that change. I think so. I personally, I know I'm a little lower on this team than you guys, but I do think this team is strong. You have the Chien-Pao mode with a lot of really strong physical attackers with the Grimmsnarl support, with Ogerpon support. And it's not really weak to Intimidate, right? Because you have your Inner Focus, you have your Defiant on Ogerpon. I really like that. My problem with this team is I feel like there's no real special attack threat. I mean, Salazzle and Tornadus and Polion, I don't know. They're not really like the scariest special attack threats to me. Feel like most weeks I'm going in with like defensive spreads going against Strick's team. I do think that Dragalge helps that a lot. I think it's a much better addition to the team than Furfro. I think it helps him a little bit with that special attack threat. Not sure how it helps with his typings, um, but yeah, I do like that change, and I think this is overall a very strong team and something to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree that the Dragalge definitely helps the team over the Furfro, but I do think that it enhances the weaknesses that this team has. Already, now adding the Dragalge, there are 5 ice weaknesses, and when you're running
Hmm.
Dragonite as one of your main Pokemon, if you're not planning to Terra it, ice moves are readily available, especially Ice Spinner, which is on almost everything. Uh, and it can get surprised, right? I think it's really important to also note there are 2 different fake out users, which will help enhance the ability to set up the Dragonite and the Entei or the Chien-Pao to succeed. Um, I do agree with Coco that even still with the Dragalge, that there's still a bit of a lack of special attacking threats. There's nothing above 111 base special attack, and um, that can be a little tough for wall breaking purposes. But because the Chen Pao Entei Dragonite synergy is just so strong and the team is not weak to Intimidate, I still think that this team is a force to be reckoned with and is definitely looking to be one of the strongest teams in the division.
Yeah, I agree with most of you guys' points. Definitely a big weakness on the special attackers not being very high. So I guess common things that can come into this team is like maybe not intimidate, but you can bring physically defensive Pokemon and like your reflect and stuff like this. And it might hurt the team a little bit. Might be like very easy to like build against the team, but it's still Chimp Out, still Dragonite and Entei and like these physical attackers. So it's still very like hard to deal with. You know, like it's very strong physical attackers, right? So something you have to deal with like on a week to basis when playing against this team.
Well,
Other thing to note is this team is extremely weak to Rock Slide spam, especially when you consider Claydol as one of the resists, and it's not going to be a mainstay on the team. So Empoleon is going to have to put in a lot of work blocking the team off from those rock moves.
what is the second fake out user here? Is it Salazzle?
Salazzle,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was not familiar with Salazzle's game. Oh my goodness. Okay.
So
Yeah.
Salazzle's not really thought of as a great fake out user because it it's such a weird Pokemon. Its ability Corrosion is so good for supporting with to go with Fake Out, but it's got a reasonable special attack and really good speed. So it wants to attack, but it's being used for support. So like most of the time you're stashing it and hoping it can do its job.
Yeah, I
Right.
usually see this thing as like a damage dealer, and people like forget that like this thing can play like decent support with like fake out and like the corrosion ability, and I'm pretty sure it has other supportive abilities too. But it's mostly when I see Slazo, it's mostly like, damage dealing with like Sludge Wave, Flamethrower. I know this thing gets substitute as well, so there's like things like that.
Yeah, cool, really cool Pokemon, but very weird design for sure.
Yeah. I mean, definitely just an upper half team for sure, right? I don't think anyone can say otherwise.
Hmm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think Empoleon though here is gonna have to put in a lot of work, like Easton said. Not only that it's like the rock resist, it's also it's competitive user, so that deters ways to intimidate, and then also it's the highest special attacking Pokemon on this team alongside Salazzle, so it's gotta put in a decent amount of work and make sure that people are not only building physically defensive.
Yeah, definitely happy to see the finalist return and see how he can do this season. Hopefully, he'll return.
Yeah, hopefully he
I will
makes a
say
good
one other
season.
thing. Sorry, Thunder. I
No,
just wanted to say one other thing here. If someone does get Trick Room up against this team, despite the priority, I still think it struggles.
Yeah. Yeah,
And he
I would
doesn't
say.
really have a way to block it either.
Yeah. Speaking about that, Claydol gets Trick Room, right? That's his only Pokemon that gets Trick Room. In fact, on this team.
It should get Trick Room. I'll
Does it
double
get
check for
Imprison is
you.
the question.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't have Imprison.
Ooh.
That's
I'm looking though. Give me
that's
a moment.
sure. That's rough. Then like that's one way of just stopping Trick Room outright, right? So it's
No, it does get Trick Room. It does get Trick Room Imprison. I'm
okay.
wrong. So that is a way around it. Um, which is not what I expected actually, but that also means you have to bring Claydol to a Trick Room matchup.
I
Yeah.
love that Pokemon so much. I know he's not the best, but such a fun design.
It's a great design, but not very good, not very strong.
I guess other
At least not
means
compared to modern Pokemon games, anyway.
I don't know if any of his Pokemon learn Roar on this team. I want to say Pokemon maybe learns Roar,
Entei
but
does for sure.
Entei, yeah. He also has Dragon Tail on Dragonite. Not that like you'd want to bring Dragon Tail on Dragonite, but like that is a way of deterring the Trick Room and stuff.
Yeah, very reliant on Roar or Whirlwind if anything gets it.
So yeah. But overall, I think it's a definitely a top half team. I think it's really good. It's just some small weaknesses, but I think it can be overcome. I think Strict good enough to make this team work. So yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
All right, we can move on to the next team. We got the New York Yankees. This is a
Ooh.
powerful team. The on off the bat when I came home to seeing this draft, I saw Spectre, Chi-Yu, Enamorus, and Latios. I'm like, wow, this is a team to reckon with.
Illegal.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
and you still got Pokemon like Zapdos that like does like a great what's called amount of special attack with 125. So like, there's so much power with this team. But my concerns with this team when I saw it, I was like, is this like the top like best team in the Kanto Conference? But my issue with this team is the speed control might be a little bit hard with this team as like his tailwind users are like Enamorus and Zapdos, and they're like not the fastest things at like 100 speed and I think 106
Latios.
with Enamorus. Oh, and Latios gets Tailwind, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so speed control maybe I guess with Latios maybe then it's okay, but that's like the first thing in that I want to keep in mind with this team. That makes it maybe a little bit difficult because this team is maybe not frail, but like might be hard to like keep Pokemon alive if they're not going first. If that makes sense.
Yeah. This team also struggles a little bit against strong fairy type attackers. The only resist is Excadrill, which really thrives on sand teams, and this is sandless Excadrill. It's mainly there to provide the ground and the steel type to this team, and it's gonna have to put in a lot of work.
Now, I think one of the caveats is just like we said with the last team. You worry a little bit about the physical attacking side of this team, right? Chen Pao, you're gonna be worried about if you have some special attacking threats. Chi-Yu, you want to make sure you still have some physical attacking threats. The physical attackers here, I think, are a little better than the special attackers you have on the other team, right? You can always you have Infernape, Excadrill if you get the Tailwind up. Muckalola hits surprisingly hard, and then Enamorus can be run physical too. Which a lot
Yeah.
of people don't realize with the contrary set. I think this team just does a little better of covering that weakness and making you think about what physical attackers are coming week to week. But I think this draft comes down to just Chi-Yu Spectrator. Enough said, right? You
Yep.
get perfect typing coverage, insane special attack with the Beads of Ruin. I mean, the classic meme of Chi-Yu, Beads of Ruin in the sun, choice specs, overheat,
Yep.
Terrifier. Like, these things can nuke your Pokemon even if they have Assault Vest on. The assault, and you can only have one Assault Vest in VGC. So
Yeah. I would say if the opponent is not ready to tackle Chiyu Spectre or like Chiyu plus special attacker lead, the New York Yankees might just like run away with the game if there's no like counter immediately turn one. If especially if Spectre starts getting the what's the ability called the Grimnay boost, that'll be like really scary to deal with.
And this team is also extremely physically frail. I do understand that Hitmontop is here to provide the Intimidate support, but we've seen lots of clear amulets get used in the past. Inner Focus is a very prevalent ability, blocking the physical attack drop. I don't know if that's enough, and that's a big weakness this team does have. But you also have to be able to get those moves off before Chiyu or Spectre nukes you. So we'll have
Yeah,
to see how the season goes with those weaknesses in mind. But this team is definitely a top contender for the split.
100%. And I think he has some good options for Trick Room issues. So he has Trevenant, obviously, that gets Trick Room in prison, I'm pretty sure. And Makaloa is a pretty good speed tier at 50, so that's at least two Pokemon that he has that he can try to deal with Trick Room users with. Like if he wants to send out his slower team and try to counter the team that's using Trick Room, or just prevent it outright.
Yeah. I'm hoping 1 week this season he brings like a sunny day mode just for Chi-Yu boost, and then like I want to see Harvest Trevenant pop off at
Yeah,
some point this season. That'd be really fun to watch.
Harvest Trevenant into the sun with mixed Infernape. That would be
Yeah,
the
for real.
dream.
that would be crazy. That would be a very interesting way to play it. I guess you got Infernape that would set up the Sunny Day most likely on this team. Probably something else gets Sunny Day as well on this team.
I imagine Latios can set it. I imagine Zapdos could also set it. But I'd have to check move sets. But there are definitely some other ulterior options than just Infernape.
But it seems like this team is just gonna be like brain off, send out Chi-Yu, Spectre, send out your special attackers, and just click your special attacking moves and just call it a day. I will say those one fairy weakness might be a little bit rough. Fairy moves coming into this team might really scare this team, but I guess you do have Terra to try to alleviate that issue. But fairy is the most common type in the game, so it's not the best that you only have one fairy resist.
Yeah, it's just a weird type setup where you have two fire Pokemon which would normally resist fairy, and neither of the fire types resist it.
Yeah.
So that it's just simply a product of that, and that's why Excadrill is going to have to put in a lot of work. Most likely as a Pokemon in the back rather than a lead,
Yeah.
to help protect these Pokemon from strong Fairy type attackers. But definitely a strong team, top contender for sure.
I can definitely see this Excadrill coming a lot, maybe with a Choice Scarf as its main physical attacker, just to like be able to be like decently fast and threaten like Pokemon that are like just specially defensive, or like Pokemon that are like, just like prepared for like the Spectre and the Chi-Yu and Amorous, stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
a Choice Scarf Excadrill on the back could be a really like excellent Pokemon to help out this team.
Especially with 3 flying immunities, right? As long as you're not running the Bold Breaker set, and which enables you to hit Latios, it does do pretty good in that too. Good
Yeah.
call, Thunder.
But yeah, I expect this team probably to for sure make playoffs and definitely be a contender to go late into the playoffs.
For sure, just gotta pilot it correctly.
We got any other thoughts on this draft?
That's it from me.
That's it. Yeah.
All right, can move on to the next team. We got the Fortress. You want to start us off,
Slightly.
CocoPuffs?
Yeah,
Or
go ahead,
Easton? Either's fine.
All right. I was just going to say this was a very difficult draft for me to kind of figure out. And I ultimately ended up going over it for a while and realizing like the Trick Room core on this team is extremely strong, but I'm very worried about there only being one Trick Room setter. It is a huge issue. And that's not even on top of the type chart. Look at the type chart. I can't believe there's 3 zero resistances.
Yeah, it's very rough.
And there's a 0 resistance for your Trick Room setter as well, which means you're most likely having to defensively Terra the Porygon 2 in almost every game, which takes away a lot of offensive or defensive options from the extremely strong core of Iron Hands, Ursaluna, Blood Moon, right?
Yep.
This team could be... I feel like this team could be a lot stronger with an additional reliable Trick Room setter that will help take the Terra problem away and allow you to defensively Terra the attackers rather than the Trick Room setters. Because the other Pokemon on the team fit the Trick Room mode too. I just don't understand why there's only one of them.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think the core of Ursaluna, Iron Hands, Porygon 2, and Incineroar is a very great Trick Room team. Even like the Rampardos with the high attack, but the having only no, not even what's it called? You have only one, no resistances to fighting for Porygon 2, which is really bad for your Trick Room setter. And like one thing could like really help this team. Might not help the fighting weakness, but Steel, or having a Steel type Pokemon on this team would help out with the Fairy and the Dragon resistance a lot. That gives you already one resistance to those two types.
Yeah, it doesn't resolve the 4 fighting weaknesses to 0 resistances, though. Definitely have to patch that up somewhere.
Yeah, and it makes me a little bit scared that with the Rampardos on this team, because of course it's like really good in Trick Room, right? It's decently slow and has a insane high attack stat, but this thing's also just really really frail. So this thing kind of just like dies to a gust of breeze, you know?
Yeah, anything that gets Bullet Punch is just hitting a hole in this thing.
I think Rampardos is a great Pokemon, and I was also looking at it, but I think it's only good if it can have a redirection Pokemon. And I know he has Raichu, but I don't know if Raichu is the best redirection Pokemon for Rampardos, as it's like as itself it's already frail as is, right? So I guess maybe you can run it with Focus Sash and like take 2 hits, but team is looking really rough with the type charts, I have to say.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. I'm a big Clawitzer enjoyer, and I'm glad it's going to be one of the main special attacking threats. But I don't know how much you're going to end up bringing it with the Ursaluna Blood Moon being just what it is, right? I also don't understand the Sceptile pickup. I know Gen 3 was a little bit rough at the end of the draft to find things to put on your team, but it definitely doesn't fit the mold of the team. It doesn't function in Trick Room. You don't really have a fast mode for it to succeed in, and you don't make use of its Unburden either because you don't have a terrain setter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with everything you guys said, right? I think when I first looked at this draft, I saw Ursaluna, Iron Hands, and Incineroar, and my immediate thought was just, oh, this is a top team, right? And then the more I looked at it, the more I realized some of the flaws. I think the flaws were kind of sneaky. I think you see Incineroar, Iron Hands, Ursaluna, Porygon, you're like, oh, this is just like a ladder team. Like this, this is an insanely strong Trick Room team. But with the type weaknesses and with the other weaknesses you guys mentioned, it really drags it back a bit. I almost wish, I know it's taken in this conference, but I almost wish that Sceptile was like a Dusclops as a secondary Trick Room setter. It'll help with the fighting weakness. Nice immunity for both Porygon and Ursaluna to switch into. I think if Porygon's Cresselia, I'm feeling a lot better about this team in terms of a Trick Room setter. I feel like Porygon, you almost always want to run the Eviolite, right? Because you want the tankiness on it. So that leaves you susceptible to both the Fake Out and the Taunt, in addition to a plethora of other, Trick Room answers.
Yep.
Usually you want a setter that's able, like Furgraph, he's immune to the Fake Out. You want something that's able to mitigate the options people have in terms of denying your Trick Room.
Yeah, I still think this team, if it somehow gets Trick Room up without like losing a lot of its Pokemon, I still think Iron Hands and Blood Moon are gonna go crazy in Trick Room. Don't get me wrong, they're gonna have to carry this team for sure. But I think setting up the Trick Room might be the issue with this team. It might be a little bit too hard with the amount of answers that you already like said and stuff.
Yeah, an additional Trick Room setter helps things immensely, but there's certainly upgrades that can be done with the non-core members of the team that can transform this into a potential playoff contender. And even if you only bring Ursaluna, Iron Hands, Incineroar, Porygon 2 as like you bring that every week, that could succeed for sure, but it's very easy for your opponent to team build against if they know exactly what's coming every week. There's no variety here.
Yeah, I guess the ways I'd be seeing him set up Trick Room with Porygon 2 would be like it's most likely just gonna be lead with Incineroar and or Raichu, most likely Incineroar. And you just click Fake Out and then set up the Trick Room is probably gonna be his easiest way to set up Trick Room, I would imagine.
For
Otherwise, I don't see much other setup to help the Trick Room get up like easy.
well, P2 Iron Hands can do it as well because he has 3 fake out options plus the
True.
Raichu Follow Me. But if you don't lead P2 Iron Hands, like Raichu doesn't want to be on the field during Trick Room, especially not having access to its priority move. And Incineroar functions fine in Trick Room, but you don't have any of your big threats out. And how are you going to get those threats out, right? You're wasting Trick Room turns. They're not going to have time to set up, or if you're running a substitute set, right?
Yep.
Like, I just see difficulty right now. Not to say that like the Trick Room team can't succeed. It's just an uphill battle.
Yeah.
I almost was wondering if Hatterene was available in this conference, but I forgot it was taken. Hatterene, I think, would have been such a good addition to this team if he was able to snag it. But
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna look rough, but I mean, Iron Hands and Blood Moon are still like Iron Hands and Blood Moon, like those things they get on their Trick Room. Like if a team is not like if a team's under preparing against this team, and this Trick Room gets up, I can still see that this team like take games with Iron Hands and Blood Moon alone with the sheer amount of power those Pokemon have.
yeah, I don't want to jinx Fortress here, but this team should get some wins this season for sure, just with how strong the power level of their Trick Room Pokemon are.
Yeah. We got any other thoughts on this team, or shall we move on?
Let's go next.
All
Good
right.
for me, yeah.
Next team we
Go
got is Julink
Oh.
Jumpluffs.
There's the Hatterene.
There's the Hatterene.
Go ahead, Coco.
Yeah, he heard the joy in my voice. I
Yeah.
am very high on this team. I really like this team. I think this team has the options of the D1 Dibsy team that we saw in terms of different modes, but I think a lot of them overlap in ways that really just tickle my brain the right way. I really like the Tapu Lele Hatterene expanding force spam. You have Torkoal with Raging Bolt for photosynthesis. All those and King Gambit working under the Trick Room that Hatterene can set up. You have a fast mode with Unburden Driftblim and Chlorophyll Lilligant with a Torkoal. So there's an overlap there with the Sun mode. You have the Halucha with a Tapu Lele for a fast mode for a Terrain Unburden fast mode. You have Electabuzz Redirection for just anything. It could pretty much come in any matchup. King Gambit can also work in the fast mode with just its priority. I just love the way the different modes of this team overlap, where he could pretty much bring any mode any week, and a lot of the Pokemon can thrive in any of those modes. I think the one thing here is just the Ursaring. I know it's a Gen 2 Pokemon. I don't know exactly what it's doing here, besides maybe just providing a immunity to Ghost. Maybe that was the idea.
That's probably the idea. It's also one of the only physical attacking Pokemon this team has. It's the second strongest one on the team after King Gambit. One of the weaknesses I noticed with this team is specifically related to the Ursaring. If the Ursaring is your second strongest physical Pokemon, you may struggle a little bit because Ursaring is not coming into balance teams. Its place in a team is mostly going to be around Trick Room, right? And
Yeah.
you have such strong other modes already, it's hard to fit it into any of them.
Yeah, agreed. I think Ursaring's like the one thing kind of the standing out as the weak link here. I do think that while I would agree that this team kind of lacks on the physical threat side, it's just the special attacking side is so strong. You see 137, 136, 130 on the Lele Hatterene Raging Bolt. It's just so oppressive. It might not matter what EV spread you bring.
Yeah, it's a definitely a really strong team with a lot of different modes. I really love the flexibility with this team as they can just run a fast mode, a Trick Room mode. They could probably even run a balance mode with Electabuzz and Follow Me Redirection. You got so many ways to play. You got like Unburden with Driftblim and Halucha that can use Psychic Seed with Tapu Lele. The Trick Room mode is pretty insane with Hatterene, Expanding Force, or King Gambit, even Raging Bolt, Torkoal. There's like plenty of ways to play with this team, which makes it like really hard to prep against each week.
Right, and especially remember with the way VGC works in this format, you bring 6 and take 4. You could feasibly fit both 2 or even 3 modes into one build and use whichever one works the best against your opponent, right?
Yep.
So it's very difficult to team build against. This was one of the teams I definitely pegged as being one of the strongest ones drafted. It's definitely the strongest Sun team drafted, or Spam team drafted between both conferences. I would expect this team to get far.
Yeah, I don't see much weaknesses on this team. I guess besides the fact that only one fairy resist and one rock resist, but doesn't seem too bad on this team with only like 2 weaknesses to fairy and 2 weaknesses to rock, I guess. But I don't know. Enough said with this team for me. I just think this team has all the flexibility, has all the tools that I need, and I could see this team easily making a deep run into the playoffs.
Yeah, I
Agreed.
mean, agreed. I'm just looking at the Gen 2 Pokemon list. Maybe even like an Azumarill would be. I mean, it does triple up on your fairy types, right? But in terms of just being another Trick Room threat with a physical attacker, might be a good look for the Julian
Yeah, it also
Dumpluffs.
gives you a water type too. I'm seeing I don't see a water type on this team, right? So
Yeah, no
that
water.
yeah, so it gives you a water type at least, and that could be pretty helpful. Type wise. I like Ursaring too. I don't think it's by any means bad on this team. You can like run it like Eviolite now that like there's Ursaluna in the game, right? So that's like another thing you can do. It can be decently bulky and just like output a lot of damage with return 130 attacks. Like nothing to be scared. What's it called like you have to be scared of.
Sure, but knockoff is also a very common move, and this team could potentially have 2 Eviolite users, right? If you're
That's
bringing
true.
Ursaring, you're not putting Eviolite on Electabuzz, and Electabuzz functions in any of the cores we previously mentioned, right? It's almost certain Electabuzz is being brought in the majority of matchups to help support the team.
Right.
Yeah,
Makes things tough to bring Ursaring for sure.
it's a overall great team with some small weaknesses. But yeah, I expect this team to go far. Can I guess move on to the next team. We got
Sounds good.
Buff Shaman round 3. He's back for round 3, guys.
Oh boy, here he comes.
What you guys think?
For me, at first glance, I think this team looks incredibly strong and has some cool synergies and build options, but the more I looked at it, the more I saw some glaring holes that pushed me to think that this team is more of a middling team than a top team, at least draft-wise. Uh, First of all, the singular flying weak resistance is really rough. It's a very strong attacking type, especially in this format. And I wasn't a huge fan of that. And especially the ghost resist being what was it? Is the ghost resist Liepard?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Liepard.
That not and the flying resist is Electivire, and I kind of feel like both of those Pokemon are throw-ins, not necessarily mainstays on the team. So I don't really know if those are considered resists for either type. Especially since Electivire is not like Electabuzz, can't hold Eviolite, so it's not really that bulky.
Yeah.
So I struggled a little bit with that, and then the special attacking threats are a little bit rough. Latios and Sylveon are plus Tapu Fini are really your 3 special attacking threats, and the highest base special is 110. That's a little rough for wall breaking purposes. And the team's a little vulnerable to Intimidate as well, because there's no Intimidate prevention. But
Yeah.
in terms of options for the team, I think it's extremely strong. There's 3 Tailwind users. You've got the Sneasler Tapu Fini combo. You've got Fake Out Liepard support for the rest of the team. Like I think this is an extremely strong balanced draft. It just has some pronounced weaknesses that need to be considered. And I mean, the 2 4x weak Pokemon to fire, even with that many resistances, can still be a problem because Pokemon can sneak fire moves onto their set just for the sake of countering them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, no, I
Leo,
think
go
I'm there
ahead.
with you on everything. Another thing just to mention that the Tapu Fini Sneasler combo, I do think the Misty Terrain blocks any poison point, although it'd probably be running on Burden, and Dire Claw procs, so it's a little bit of counter synergy there. Um, I still think it's a strong combo. It's just one thing to note is that you might not be able to get those unburdened Dire Claw moments that just win you games.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, speaking on that point, not only does it kind of hurt Sneasel, like it's a little bit like you get some benefits, but you get some negatives. It also kind of hurts your gouging fire, right? Because like if that thing, or even Latias, because if those two are trying to run Dragon Stabs, you're most likely gonna have to run Telepathy over Misty Surge, and it's like a little bit of like, oh, am I gonna run Misty Surge this week, or am I gonna run Telepathy, right? It just depends on how you're gonna build, and it feels bad because like you can't go Misty Terrain, Tapu Fini, and get all the benefits because there's going to be negatives coming with it. But overall, on the team, I see it like as like a balanced of maybe just like sort of a balanced team. You know, it has like some offense and it's pretty bulky. I guess maybe it's a bulky offensive team. Um, but I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this team. The special attackers are a little bit low. The physical attackers are pretty decent. I think this team's just like a mid-tier team, at least for me.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking too. For at first glance, it feels a lot better, but you glance at some of the shortcomings from the draft, and some of those shortcomings might be a little bit difficult to patch up, even with Terra.
I still think it's for me. I think it's like more towards the upper middle for sure. I think this team just because it is the bulky offense with good cores in terms of typings. I feel like you're just gonna. I feel like Korea's gonna be able to squeeze out a lot of wins that you wouldn't expect just because he's playing the draft really well, right? This is a draft where you come each week and you're like, all right, I'm gonna have my good attackers and good support, and I'm just gonna try to outplay my opponent. No gimmicks, really, right?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
definitely agree with that.
One thing about this team, I'm just realizing, as you mentioned, the intimidate weakness and the lack of special attackers, adrenaline orb is kind of a sick item here, for
Ooh,
his draft. Might
yeah,
be an adrenaline orb angle some weeks just to get that boost in special attack you desperately need, and to kind of punish the intimidate users on the enemy team.
I don't know if it's special attack. I think it gives you speed. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, is it?
I think it's
Yeah,
speed. Yeah.
Oh man,
I mean that's still
my
not the
Pokemon
worst. I
knowledge
mean
just went
maybe
that just went down.
maybe Adrenaline Orb Sylveon and give it that +1 speed could be pretty potent. I
Yeah,
one thing
yeah,
I do want to see with this team though is I want to see the Tapu Fini Misty Surge with the Sylveon Misty Explosion. I would love to see
yeah.
that 1 week. That would be sick. I'd love to see that. And
100%. That would be a cool bring.
we definitely have seen some teams already that have like a lack of fairy weakness, so I could definitely see that being an option for Corito as like a kind of surprise cheese, like maybe in a 1 game or 2 games here and there. But
I think the
yeah,
Liepard was such a good addition to this team too. I think it provides so much support that the team desperately wants.
yeah,
Oh,
Very underrated
absolutely.
Pokemon.
I just think relying on it as a ghost resist is not the idea.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
with Prankster gets a decent amount of moves. Pretty sure it gets Fake Out, right?
It does get fake out, yeah.
Knockoff,
It gets a
nice
bunch
move.
of weather moves too.
Yep.
Knockoff, and it gets some really funky support moves. So Corito may have to go to the drawing board to find some nasty set options to help his help Liepard succeed.
Yeah, one particular move I do remember from Liepard because I did run Purloin and LC was Copycat. I did really enjoy using Prankster Copycats. A very fun tool to use. Helps you stop Trick Room as like it's like one option to stop Trick Room. And there's probably other options with Copycat too. You can Copycat Prankster Tailwind and some like small niche things. But yeah, it does definitely get a lot of decent support moves last I remember when I played this thing. I know it gets T-Wave as well. It's another nice move for this team as it's not as fast. So if it's want to like use Tailwind, it can use T-Wave as another option as a speed control. Not like a strong one, but it's like a decent one. So that's a decent.
What is the
Sorry.
what's the over under on Corrido T-waving on Lipard and getting it eaten by motor drive this season at some point?
Oh my god. Or Misty Surge.
Does it
Yeah, or Missy
act
Surge.
like lightning rod?
It does, yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't know it
With
drew moves either. I thought only Lightning Rod draws moves in.
I think I'm pretty sure motor drive draws it in too.
Okay.
I could be wrong on that.
I think it's just if it's hit by an electric move.
Is it like Volt Absorb?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because last time I remember running my Electivire, I would use Discharge, and that's an AoE move, but I never remember like drawing moves. All I remember was like if you have Lightning Rod, like that's what like draws in moves. That's all I remember, to be honest. You might be wrong, you might be right. I'm not sure, to be honest, but
It does not
No,
draw
it does not.
moves.
okay, yeah.
But to your point, with Tapu Fini being a mainstay on this team, could we see the Thunder Wave eat it? Perhaps. We'll see.
Small chance, small chance. But yeah, I think this team is on the like it's like overall just like decent team. Nothing bad, nothing too bad about it, nothing too great about it. I think it's overall just like a decent team, a great team, and I think Corrido has the knowledge to use his team to his advantage and get the wins, like CocoPuff said.
Absolutely. As a balanced team, enjoyer, I should say, I definitely like it a lot. Just have to see what you can do with it.
All right, can move on to the next team, and we got the Majors Penguins.
Go ahead, Thunder.
Interesting team. It's obviously the primary mode is rain. Um,
Only mode is rain.
I guess yeah, you could say that. I'm not really obviously like last podcast I said I'm not the biggest fan of weather like Pelipper and like drizzle and stuff like that. I think it can be countered pretty easily with a different amount of things, but the one thing I have to say about this team, I was not too big of a fan. I feel like you kind of all in on the rain instead of like having like your rain core and then like your other core as like a secondary way of playing the game. Because I feel like mostly you have like Kingdra, Pelipper, Basque Legion, Primarina, and Archaldon as your rain team, and the other Pokemon just are just kind of there. Maybe a Moongus can also just fit in that rain team, can just offer like redirection, but it feels bad because you have Arcanine, and I don't know like how you can use Arcanine when your main mode is just straight up rain, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of picked out the team kind of similarly. There's a few rain abusers, but you don't even have the strongest rain abusers in the format between Kingdra and Vascular Legion. And if you can't keep rain up, the speed tiers on this team are really rough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The team will struggle if it loses rain, and there's only one drizzle user, right? There's no prankster setters as secondary options, so something's gonna have to carry Rain Dance to set it itself if the rain is ever lost, which is also unideal. And there's just too many water types picked as well.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the amount of water types that were picked. I think the core of the team being Pelipper, Kingdra, Archaludon, Amoonguss can be extremely strong as a rain team, and you could mix a few of the other ones in, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree with Thunder. It's kind of hard to throw Arcanine in here anywhere. Even Gastrodon feels like it is kind of difficult to use because Primarina, Kingdra, and Vascular Legion don't want it to be on the field to use their single target attacks
Yep.
and draw in the water move, right? Surf is not as potent in this format to use, and it's a rain team, you know? There's
Mm-hmm.
clear defensive caveats to having so many water types, right? One resistance to dark is not amazing in a format where knockoff is extremely prevalent to be used, and there are some very strong dark types in the format, right?
Yeah, like Urshifu, Urshifu Dark is right there,
Yeah, Roaring Moon could go really hard against this team.
If it was drafted.
Yeah.
If someone had it.
Yeah.
If someone had it, yeah.
I forgot to
Um,
mention
I-
Helios also can, I guess, be a part of that ring core too, because like Thunder is pretty good, and then it has dry skin as an ability. I'm pretty sure, so it does get a little bit of healing from that. But still, it's a lot of Pokemon that want to play in the rain, and if the rain gets turned off, I fear to say I don't know how the team will play out and get wins.
the team definitely struggles without rain, especially on the physical side, where you're like Basculegion really wants the attack boost to be able to break things. 112 attack is not bad, right? But it's not amazing without rain.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think this team really wants to drop like 2 out of 3 of Kingdra, Gastrodon, Basculegion. Take your pick. Personally, for me, it would be like Kingdra, Gastrodon, keep the Basculegion, Archaludon, Pelipper, um, and then find some other good support, like maybe a Prankster, Rain Dance Setter, or just anything, some other sort of side mode for the team to function on. But I think it's just a little too all in on Rain for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a mode where Arcanine would have a better time existing in would make this team a little better because you could have the rain mode plus the balance mode. But right
Yep.
now, this team doesn't really have a great balance mode.
Yeah, and then the one thing I also have noticed about this team, I think when I was looking last night, was I don't think this team has any access to Trick Room. So that's another issue with this slow Pokemon he
There's
has already. I don't think
there's
Monkey
unless
Dory
Monkey
gets
Dory
it.
gets
I
it.
don't. I,
I'll
I'm
check
pretty sure I
though.
looked last night and it doesn't get it. So it's pretty tough with a pretty slow Pokemon, right? 'Cause I was gonna say maybe this team has an alternate mode and it can go Trick Room, but it doesn't even have a Trick Room setter, so that's another like rough thing. Because I could see it like being, oh, you could play this team as like maybe like a Rancor and then like maybe with like a small Trick Room team with like Amoonguss, like Spore shenanigans, and then like Archaudon is decently slow and other Pokemon, but no, with no Trick Room setter, you don't even have that option.
Yeah, I'm confirming that Monkey Dory does not get Trick Room, and there's only one Tailwind Pokemon here, which is also the Rain Setter.
Yep.
So, I mean, roll compression can be a good thing, but not having options is also not a good thing. And I definitely agree that this team went all in on Rain, and it's not bad Rain by any means, but all in Rain in a format like this, where there's so many prankster Pokemon that can just turn off the weather easily. This is a little bit of a rough draft.
Yeah. Ways I can see this team winning is like if the rain does not get turned off, Primarina can hit pretty hard with Hyper Voice, Liquid Voice, in the rain, with Hyper Voice and stuff like that. And Basculin
Hmm.
obviously with Swift Swim and its water moves and stuff like that. And Archaudon with its what's the move that gives it the special like it hits right away?
Electroshot.
Electroshock, yeah, that's another like strong move, but I guess all that kind of hinges on the fact that if the rain's on, right? So it's rough. I think this team probably should make some pickups on some like more of a like a balance score. That way you can have like your balance score with like Arcanine and Amoonguss, and then you can also have like your main mode, and then that way teams can just come in just like say I'm gonna turn off the rain, and then what are you gonna do?
Also, physical attacking threats are just Basculegion and Arcanine, who his only stab is fire, and you're gonna not want to use that in the rain, right? So,
Hmm.
I mean, technically, Archaludon could go physical, uh, but as someone who ran that Pokemon, does not get great physical coverage. Um, and
Yeah.
you just almost always want to use Electroshock or maybe Body Press.
Don't
Um,
forget, Kingdra also has the option to go the Dragon Dance set. Not that it's extremely powerful off of 95 base attack, but it is an
True.
option to surprise someone with. But certainly the physical attacking threats on this team are a little bit less strong than the special attackers.
Very true.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But yeah, this team could look good if it had like a balanced score, but unfortunately, I think I have this team on the lower end. It's just really hard to play out this draft with so many prankster users of stopping the rain. There could be Pokemon like Terra that can just like resist the water, and there's like a lot of ways to counter the team. So yeah, that's my thoughts at least. Anything
Yeah.
else you guys got?
That's all I got for this one.
All
Good
right.
for me.
Can move on to that is the red group finish. So now we're on to the blue group, the scary group, some would say. And let's move on to the first team with McFeeds Mareeps, the commissioner himself.
Nick Cheats has drafted another extremely scary team, and Tapu Koko offense it looks absolutely disgusting. It's hard for me to put into words how scared of this team I am. The team building options are numerous. He's got ways to enable Iron Valiant. He's got the prankster support from Thunderous. He can Earthquake spam with Garchomp next to Corviknight or Thunderous. The speed tiers are incredible. The type chart is also incredible, and he even has the Stantler on the team there to help with Imprisoned Trick Room, to prevent this team from dying to Trick Room teams. Like, this is one of the strongest drafts in the entire league for sure.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't know what you guys think, but if I'm turning nameplates off, I'm pretty sure this is just a team that I would build straight up. This is probably like my dream team to have, the Iron Valiant plus Tapu Koko. What a nasty combo you can have with the
Garchomp.
Garchomp as well, Thunderous. And I think my favorite thing about this team is how flexible it can be. There's just so many things you can do with this team. You have the Earthquake mode, Blastoise here to help with them redirection. Tapu Koko and Iron Valiant can do so many things, so it can run physical and special, which is pretty nice. And Iron Valiant, what a great Pokemon! Probably one of my favorite Pokemon, and it can just run almost anything you want. Support, physical sets, special sets. It can just do whatever you want. I will say with Iron Valiant, what I have learned is if you don't position the Iron Valiant properly in a game, that thing can just die. Like, it's not like incredibly bulky, so you have to like really position the Iron Valiant in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, just classic McFeeds balanced offensive draft. I mean, perfect typing, like type resistant chart profile. The speed tiers are great in terms of just being very fast without Tailwind, even just with your Quark Drive Pro Synthesis users, and just even without that, they're just naturally very fast. You have as I said, the Corviknight Tailwind. You can do Follow Me redirection with Blastoise. Earthquake spam with Garchomp with all your flying users. Just a lot of options this team. Nothing really bad to say about it. I mean, maybe if someone does get the Trick Room up against this team, it could be a problem, but you do have the Stantler and Delphox to help with that.
Iron Valiant also can run Imprisoned Trick Room, which is
Yep.
really funny because he has two ways to do it, and he's got Roar users as well. So
Yep.
it's going to be really hard for someone to set Trick Room up against him. But if it does happen, that is the one weakness that I can see on this team. It does struggle under Trick Room. Corviknight doesn't really mind it, but it's not exactly still the best speed tier for Trick Room. You really want to be at 50 or below 50, ideally in the 40 to 30 range, to really take advantage of it. And it'll be up to McFeeds to prevent the Trick Room from being set against him, because otherwise this team is an absolute menace.
Yeah.
I don't think the hard Trick Room teams are gonna necessarily catch him off guard. I think he'll be able to at least have some counterplay against those hard Trick Room teams when he's ready for it. I think what's really gonna catch him off guard is if someone with like middling speed who could contest him on the fast side decides, hey, I'm just gonna run everything bulky and bring a Trick Room mode. That's where I think he could see himself getting into some trouble.
Yeah, I'm really excited that he picked up Iron Boulders as flex pick, second Quark Drive user. I think in the PDL, like we've been talking about Iron Boulder for a long time. We're talking about, is it a fraud? Is it the best? Is it bad? Is it good? And I'm very excited to see what McFeeds can do with Iron Boulder. It's going to be very exciting since we've been talking about this Pokemon a lot in previous formats. But yeah, overall, I love this team. So it's a very good team. You got everything that you probably would want, like the Quark drives, we have Garchomp Thunderous mode, you have Blastoise redirection. And I think this team also just has so many ways to stop Trick Room. I don't know if you guys mentioned this, but Garchomp and Milotic also just get Dragon Tail, so that's another way you can just stop Trick Room from happening. So Trick Room is going to be really hard to be set up against this team.
This team is rich in options, so McFeeds is going to have a really fun time team building with this, and opponents are going to hate trying to team build for it.
Yeah, especially against Iron Valiant.
Especially, yes.
But
And
I
I think
don't.
the
Yep.
last thing to be said about this team, for me at least, is average BST of 499. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, that's a
Well,
scary sight.
I don't think the sheets are 100% accurate because there's a 0 on there that is lowering it.
Oh wow.
Oh, well, why is there a 0 there?
So it's on all of the sheets. So all of
Oh,
the sheets' base stat totals are all a little bit lower than they should be.
I see. So
Just
still,
comparatively at least, but still
Yeah,
really high.
comparatively, it's crazy BST. Yeah.
yeah, I expect McFeeds to go pretty far with this team. Is definitely a playoff contender and probably makes his usual late runs with this kind of team. All right,
Absolutely
let's move
agree
on.
with that.
All right, let's move on to the next team. We got Waters Whoopers. Want to start us off, CocoPuffs?
Oh, I get to be the first one to talk about my boy, huh?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think Water has a really good draft this season. I do think this is again one of the middle upper teams. I personally don't like the changes that he made. I think the Cobalion and the
Flygon.
Flygon were a little better. I do see his vision though with the Tailwind Murkrow with the Spore Breloom definitely being something that teams are going to have to consider. But otherwise, I think this team just has a lot of strong Pokemon with double redirect that can go crazy. The Dragapult and the Nihilego work really well with those redirection modes. Pretty fast. He's got Meowstic for anti-Trick Room options. Heatran just being a really solid Pokemon in this format, especially for the Gen. And then, of course, you have the Water Absorb to help relieve some of the pressure off of Heatran. Yeah, I think the only thing I really see this team struggling with is maybe I was gonna say a lack of physical attackers, but I do forget Dragapult can go mixed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the Snorlax and the Escavalier are interesting. That's kind of those are two other kind of anti-trick room options he has. Just the threat of them coming, but I don't think they really necessarily synergize with his team by itself. I don't think this team really wants to run Trick Room on a week-to-week basis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Escavalier, Snorlax, Meowstic plus something 4 is a real threat. I think teams are much less worried about that than they are just his Tailwind fast mode with Murkrow and his big threats.
I don't really disagree with that, but as a Snorlax enjoyer, I actually think Snorlax fits really well on balanced teams, not even necessarily Trick Room. It's got such high HP and natural special defense that you can invest a lot into its defense if you need to, and it can just sit there and attack you with its plethora of coverage, or they can even just set up a curse or two, and maybe some teams won't be prepared to hit it. You know, like Water has a myriad of different options he can run this team, which is awesome. We always preach team building options, and I especially love the Dragapult in this draft. You don't even need Tailwind for that thing to function. And don't forget, Dragapult doesn't even have to be run physically or specially. It can be a support Pokemon too. We've seen dual screens Dragapult take over the scene in past seasons. I think this is absolutely a really strong draft. I do kind of agree with CocoPuffs. The changes to the team aren't necessarily what I would have wanted to see, but overall, I don't think the specs of the team change too much with those in mind. The team still functions roughly the same, just with different defensive capabilities.
Yeah. I'm also like this team. It's a pretty good team. Like the Dragapult Ogerpon Heatran like core. I think those are pretty good offensive users, and Ogerpon being able to play support or attack. I think a lot of people think of Ogerpon more as a support Pokemon and like it to use Follow Me more often than its attack moves, but Ogerpon can do a decent, or not even decent, but like a great damage with like Ivy Cudgel, and like it gets some decent coverage like Play Rough, and I think it gets like stuff like Superpower even as well. I do not a biggest fan of the drops for Breloom and Excavalier. I can also see the vision of why he did it, but nothing I would do. But overall, I think it's a pretty good team. I think Escavalier and Snorlax, since they're like, I know they're pretty slow, but since they're like pretty bulky, especially Snorlax, I do think they could play somehow into the balance core of this team. I think they can still offer some great like physical presence on the balance core team, and I think they can still do pretty well, even not under Trick Room. I also really like the Meowstic here. I think the Pokemon's a very good Pokemon and can do so many different things for the team. It can either provide screens support, Fake Out, Thunder Wave, Trick Room Imprisoned, Weather, Terrain. It can just do so many things for this team. It's like that are my thoughts for this team at least.
Yeah, and I mean, just harkening back to what Easton said, I think it's actually a really good point that the Snorlax in a balance mode is actually pretty good with the screens on Meowstic or even screens on Dragapult. Like he was saying, the Snorlax can just eat a lot of hits and it won't matter that he's slower. He's just gonna eat the hits and then hit back for a ton. And to what you said, Thunder, yeah, people don't really think of Ogerpon as an attacker, but let's not forget that Togekiss also has Follow Me, and I feel like it's
Yep.
potentially a real threat with Togekiss Follow Me and Ogerpon just hitting you with strong moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, a Togekiss Ogerpon lead is actually really scary because you don't know which one's going to attack you and which one's going to use redirection.
Right.
Yeah. I think we've seen one team at least with zero water resist, so watch out for the Ivy Cudgel spam from Ogerpon there. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good team. I think one thing I do also like is I know like Heatran commonly likes to run Terra Grass with Flash Fires, like a pretty nice way to like stop fire attacks coming in. But he doesn't have to even waste his Terra on the Heatran because he just has Orgrimmon there. Orgrimmon just like draws all the water moves with Water Absorb with Follow Me, so that's like another nice combo right there. Can save Terra for something else like the Dragapult or anything else that he wants, like offensive, like maybe even Nihilego. I think that Pokemon's a pretty sleeper Pokemon. With a poison type, right? It's poison rock, right? So it's pretty decent coverage. Pretty decent offensive stabs.
Yeah, you just have to be really careful on this team playing around the Nihilego and the Heatran because they're both 4x weak to ground. And your best ground resists are the 2 immunities plus Breloom.
Yeah, that feels really bad that you dropped Flygon. You dropped like your one your other ground immunity.
Well, actually, I guess Ogerpon Wellspring also, no?
Yes.
Yes, that is also technically a resist as well.
Yeah, even still, not ideal Pokemon to be switching into ground moves, so have to play around them and see what you can do. But very strong team overall, lots of options, very cool double redirection core. Should do well.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess the one other thing I'd have to say is it kind of feels bad that he also dropped Flygon as that was his only electric or sorry his electric immunity. So something to take care on with I guess he has already 2 resists to electric and I guess 2 weaknesses to electric on the end of the world. Does he even have 2 electric weaknesses? Oh, Murkrow and Togekiss. Murkrow and
Murkrow and
Togekiss.
yeah,
Yeah,
Murkrow and
yeah.
Togekiss.
So that's something to keep in mind. So yeah. But yeah, overall, pretty good team. I think Water can definitely make playoffs with this team if he plays it well. So we'll see if he does. So we'll move on to the next team. We got Cheong Squirts. I think this team is pretty insane. I think I have in the top half of the rankings. Talonflame plus Urshifu and Regieleki is an insane, pretty insane core. Just having Tailwind for the Urshifu to get a little bit faster is pretty insane. You got like Landorus as well as Gengar's great special attackers for this team, and as Regieleki as well, also a decent special attacker. Uh, Savali, I also really like on this team. Pretty good Pokemon. Can be whatever type you want, so it's like pretty much like an extra terror, pretty much before coming into the battle. But I can definitely see Talonflame plus Urshifu lead, click the Tailwind, and just start clicking the rap. What's it called? What's the move called again? Um, what's the Urshifu move called
Raging Strikes?
again? Raging Strikes. Yeah, just Rapid Strikes or Raging.
Surging Strikes. I
Surging
think.
Strikes, sorry, yeah, Surging Strikes, yeah, that's what it's called. Just start hitting Surging Strikes left and right, and I think that'd be like a pretty insane way to start off this season.
Yeah, this is a kind of crazy hyper offense VGC team. Even not considering the Talonflame Urshifu, consider how disgusting the Talonflame Landorus Incarnate is. That thing hits like an absolute truck, and Earth flying, especially if it's Terra flying, that thing is breaking teams apart. I think this is one of Chiong's better drafts too. He's got alternate options outside of hyper offense with this draft too. Silvally, Tangrowth, and Gardevoir pair pretty good for balance. Ferd is really nice for follow me support. He's got Pinkaton as his steel type of choice, which is extremely underrated for some reason. And of course, he drafted a Perish Song Pokemon in Gengar.
Yep, has
Oh,
to.
yeah, of course.
Of course. But also looking at his type charts, like it's extremely well built. I see this team performing very well as long as Chiong can perform to capabilities of the team's two modes, which are hyper offense and balance. I do think his team will struggle if Trick Room is ever set up against it. Tangrowth is not bad in Trick Room, but it's also not really known as a Trick Room Pokemon. It's really a balanced team member or a Sun abuser. And I guess he could also run a mini Sun team with Talonflame and Tangrowth, but I don't know if I'd count on that.
Yeah, the only thing he's missing is his Shadow Tag user.
Does he have any Pokemon that get block? Because
Good,
that would be really funny.
good question, but he doesn't have a water type either. Oh, I guess he has Urshifu, sorry.
That's right.
I'm thinking maybe like, does he have any Whirlpool user, like Fire Spin? Like maybe Talonflame gets Fire Spin?
I imagine it does.
Doesn't Regieleki get this crazy move called Thunderous Cage? Doesn't that trap?
Talonflame does get Fire Spin.
Okay.
Let's not plant any hinting ideas into Chiong's mind. He's got a really strong hyper offense team here, which can't necessarily be the. I mean, he can, but it's a little difficult for this team to sustain hits, kind of waiting out the Perish Trap turns.
Yeah, he doesn't have necessarily the same bulk he did the couple of seasons he did run Perish Song, but it's still an option for the team to do. Regieleki does get Thunder Cage, which acts similarly to Fire Spin. It's just a lot stronger in base power.
Yep.
So the idea is there. I'm sure that's part of the reason why he picked it up. But looking at this team at first glance, it's definitely a hyper offense team. It's a crazy hyper offense team with multiple options. He's got strong special attacking threats and strong physical attacking threats, and the fastest Pokemon in the format without Prankster, Tailwind affecting things. So we'll have to see how he pilots it. I don't think I've ever seen Chiong play hyper offense, so I don't know how it'll do, but I definitely have faith that this team is on the upper half of the division.
Yeah, this team just has so much power to it. The Talonflame and Urshifu, even like Gengar, Guard does great damage, and like his balance mode too. He has a pretty decent one. The Tangrowth, Rage Powder 2 is pretty nice support. Can take away hits from the Urshifu or the Landorus or whoever his carry is. And yeah, I definitely also expect this team to probably make it to playoffs and get like late into the playoffs, as long as Chiang executes well with the team.
I think just a closing note here. I think with a lot of hyper offense teams, you don't even care about the type chart because you're planning on just either killing things or getting killed. but you look at the type chart here, and no, I mean, a resistance for everything, no overwhelming weakness, and that's before even considering Savali, I think, unless Savali's
Savali's only
considered.
considered normal in the
Considered
chart.
normal, yeah.
Okay, yes, that's before considering Savali, so just a lot of good type coverings here, offensively and defensively for Cheong.
Yeah, all right. Can move on to the next team. We got Call Me Cloudy? Cloudy?
Cloudy?
Cloudy?
Claudy for Clodsire,
Like
yeah.
True.
So when I first wrote out my notes for this, Ninetales had not been picked up.
Mhm.
That being said, I'm still not a huge fan of the team. I think this is not as good as the other Sun team that was drafted, despite Ninetales being a faster Pokemon. This team is extremely strong on the special attacking side. Almost every Pokemon has 100 base special or higher. So Assault Vest is going to be a necessary item against this team for sure. But the physical threats are lacking to me. There's many ice weaknesses, which is a huge issue. And there's a few other weaknesses that are a little bit difficult to manage. I think I noted the flying weakness for this team is also a little bit rough because there's not many resistances. But yeah, it's a Sun team that functions off of a couple of chlorophyll users and a couple of Paradox Pokemon and Eruption Typhlosion. It's a strong offensive team that can function if you can keep the Sun on the field. If you lose the Sun, this team might struggle a little more.
Yeah, I have to definitely agree with that. I think the Ninetales pickup for the Venusaur was definitely a good pickup and allows this, like, enables this team to actually start playing the game. With Chlorophyll Shiftery, Flutterman gained the booster speed, and Walking Wake and Typhlosion also being able to abuse off the Sun. I will say though, if the Sun is managed and turned off, I definitely see this team struggling. Outside of maybe like Fluttermane carrying its weight, other team's weight with like it just being such a strong Pokemon on its own, even without the Sun, and it may be one of the Como moves with like the boosting moves, and maybe carrying like that way could be another way of playing, but. This team really relies on the Sun. If the Sun gets turned off, it might be an issue. And his physical attackers, I guess, is Como and Landorus T. And Lando T does not get that much coverage. And all you can really do is EQ spam. But looking at this
It can't really
team,
do that on this team, though.
yeah,
He doesn't
Yeah.
have a flying type or a levitate user, right? He's heavily
Jump Up.
relying on. Oh, sorry, he has jump left. He's still heavily relying on like protect
Terra.
or Terra or alternative Landorus T sets. I don't think Lando T is set up to perform the way it usually should on this team, which is a bit of a downside. But on top of like Landorus T plus jump love on the field doesn't sound that scary.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah, I have to agree with what both you guys said. I think the Lando being the only physical threat, and I mean Como can go physical. Important to mention.
Yeah.
But Lando, really the only move it wants to click is Earthquake. Doesn't really get any good flying stab. And I don't think it gets anything great besides Earthquake, if I remember right.
I'm not really familiar with his coverage, but
Not on the physical side for ground. If usually, I've seen a lot of teams run Earth Power on it if it can't really well use Earthquake, and that just supplements to the fact that this team is already extremely specially reliant. So makes things tough.
yeah.
And then I will say I do think the ice weakness is a little fake. It's just because you are running a Sun team with a lot of fire threats. You've really got to worry about the non-stab. Someone running an ice coverage move, which won't be stab obviously, but obviously is still a concern. I am a big jump fluff lover. I do love this thing in the Sun with it gets a really fast tailwind after the sun's up. It does get rage powder. However, Ninetales and jump fluff on the field at the same time isn't really something you're entirely really scared of. So
Does Jumpluff get Tailwind?
it does.
Okay.
It gets
Yeah, I was gonna.
it gets a really fast tailwind after chlorophyll.
Okay, I was gonna say like maybe instead of playing Chlorophyll, you could play like Tailwind with I'm pretty sure Shifter gets Wind Rider.
It does
Yeah.
get
So
Wind Rider.
yeah, so that's like another way you get like a boost to its attack. So it's probably like a nice way of playing. But I'm not sure if you want how fast is jump left. 110 speed is not that slow, so I guess that's maybe like one way you could play. But yeah, team really depends on Sun, and if the Sun's turned off, don't see how this team's gonna play outside of like maybe Flutter Mane carrying the team's weight with its like high special attack.
Well, I don't think the balance option on this team is too bad with Fluttermane, Walking Wake, Gudra, Lando T, and maybe Magnezone. But it's definitely not the main mode of the team, and the synergies are a little bit lacking there because it doesn't really have the support Pokemon to go with it. Jumpluff could obviously slot in there, but Jumpluff outside of Sun is also unideal. So you're pretty much planning on Sun coming almost every week. It's it's not a bad Sun team by any means, but it's definitely not as strong as the other one. The Ninetales pickup makes it a lot better, but still not as strong as some of the other drafts that we've seen.
Yeah,
I don't hate the jump fluff, just Rage Powder with Focus Sash either next to like Como or Flutter Mane, just let them hit. But um yeah.
yeah, it'll be a tough one. I guess one synergy I also could see is like I don't know how like relevant this will be, but maybe Como with does it get Boom Burst, right? I think it gets Boom Burst. If it does, I could see it like maybe be paired up with Fluttermane, and maybe you could just click Boom Burst with another attacking move with Fluttermane. Maybe it's one way could also play, another sneaky way of playing it. But other
Yeah.
than that, I don't know if I could see this team making playoffs. I think if he plays it really, really well, it's a pretty good chance like he could make playoffs. But I feel like the execution on this team is going to have to be played like at like a really high level in order to get there.
I would agree. One closing note for me here, since this was discussed in the Discord chat earlier today.
Hmm.
As a Magnezone enjoyer, I'm going to bring it up.
Yep.
Magnezone is in a little bit of a rough spot on this team for how it's been drafted. It doesn't really want to be under Sun because it's weak to fire moves in the first place, and it's the team's best fairy resist and only flying resist. And Magnezone really wants to Terra off of its typing to get rid of the 4x ground weakness. So it's not fulfilling the best role that it can in this format. It wants to be a special attacking threat or a steel trapper rather than a tank. It may struggle to perform appropriately in these conditions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
Any other closing remarks we got here, guys?
That's it.
All right, move on to the next team. We got Uh-oh, My Wallet. Another interesting name from Kira. You know, he always has that interesting naming scheme every season.
Love the logo.
Logo's sick. What do you guys
Banger
think?
logo.
Love the logo, but less of a fan of the team.
Yeah, I mean this is just the classic Kiora snow draft. Um, I mean he does have the he has, the hail to hit Shedinja, as he said. uh, obviously jokingly. But no, this is just a snow trick room team. Pretty much, you have the Glastrier that wants to have the snow with Aurora Veil up to be incredibly hard to kill. Especially with Terra as an option, and then Frigoraph and Slowking to work in the trick room mode with it. Outside of that, I think the balance for it is all right. You do have Ogerpon for redirect. Rotom and Nidoking providing some, good middling speed options for going either way. Vivillon for the fast sleep powder compound. That gets compoundized, right?
Yes.
I
Is the
think so,
idea?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, overall, not my favorite team. Probably one of my more favorite Kiora teams I've seen.
Mhm.
For sure.
I think this guy is a god at piloting his teams, and he's always, in my book at least, he's always taking games off or series off of players we consider, very good. It's just usually his draft holding him back. And some of that is self-inflicted because he wants to play his fun little guys, and I really respect that.
Yeah, still living rent-free in your head after last season.
Oh, he's every season. Kiora lives rent free in my head. I
Yeah,
mean, the only person to take a game off of me in the regular season last season.
yeah. I don't know. I like the team. I like the Glacier Ninetales Furgraph combo with like Trick Room. I think if you can set up Glacier to be in a good spot with Trick Room and Aurora Veil, it's gonna be really hard to kill Glacier, especially with Terra and stuff. My only concern though in that mode is you're pretty weak to like a lot of things as Ice is not the best typing. So and only one thing can Terra, so that may be a little bit tough to manage. But I think if he gets Glacier under Trick Room with Aurora Veil or redirection from Orgrippon, I think this Glacier could take games and people will be surprised and like maybe like under prepare for like a snow team like this. Outside of that, I guess he has like a small like balance core he could run of like Salamence, Vivillon, maybe like you could add Nidoking up there, but it's not too fast. But still does like pretty decent damage on the physical side. But I think this team is just mainly going to be functioning under can I get Trick Room up? Can I get the Aurora Veil up or redirection up and just set up Glacier to be in a good spot to start getting the boost with the attacks.
I definitely agree with that. At first glance, when I looked at this team, I thought it was just going to be screens offense because you can run screens offense under Trick Room and screens offense outside of Trick Room. But I'm going to slightly critique the space speed of these Pokemon. This team isn't extremely fast to be managing to get screens up in a format like this with all of the paradoxes available and how fast some of the Pokemon and how strong they can hit. There's no guarantee Ninetales can even get up the screens before it gets hit,
Yeah,
which is a huge issue. And his fastest Tailwind user is also only 100 base speed, which is Salamence, right? Um,
yeah,
and on top of that, I think his special attackers are a little lacking in breaking power. He does have a lot of special attacking threats, but none of them hit over 110 special. And I guess Nidoking's special is a little fake with how the Life Orb interaction works, but I'd still think that this is a little bit weak on the special attacking side. But if screens can get up, this team will be a menace. It's just a question of whether they can get up and whether they can stay up, because Brick Break distribution is all over the place, and there's other moves that people can tech onto Pokemon to break it.
yeah. I still think even if you can't get the screens up, playing Trick Room with Frigoraph and then getting Orgrippon in there, just click redirection, I think might just be enough for Glacier to just start getting those KOs and start like the dice rolling for the team. It's
Mhm.
Frigoraph obviously being like one of the best Trick Room setters, as like it has the ability where it cannot use any priority moves on it. So if you're a prankster Pokemon, can't use taunt and stuff. So still something I can see there. Other than that, not sure if I'm gonna see this team make it to playoffs. I feel like this team is just gonna be living and dying under Glacier. Can it carry? Can it not carry? That's my honest thoughts on the team.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you.
All right, we move on to the next team. We got Smeargle Wizard Money Gang.
This was the team that was the most divisive with the three of us,
Yeah,
where one of us thinks it's extremely good, one of us thinks it's average, and one of us thinks it's not very good. Um, so I guess I'll start with my take here and just put it out there to say I don't know how to feel about this team. It's it's a Gameg team, so we knew it was going to be odd, but this team is extremely weird. The balance part of this draft looks really good. It's obviously a Shedinja team, so teams will have to prepare for whatever setup Gameg plans so that they don't insta lose to Shedinja.
yep.
And Smeargle provides incredible support on top of the Whimsicott support, but um, I just don't know where the win con is. Like, yes, Dracovish can hits extremely hard. Annihilate can do really fun things with Rage Fist and Smeargle's help. Ogerpon hits hard and provides redirection options, and Celesteela is just a menace. But I struggle to see what the team is going to do.
Yeah, initially, I felt this team was really, really strong, but then like maybe I'm thinking now that I rated it a little bit too highly. I still think it's a pretty good team, though. I still think like the combo of like Shedinja, just like having to prep for that is just like alone like what's it called? Something you have to always like make sure you have something to like defeat it with. Otherwise, that thing could just like make you lose the game. But I think this team has like two ways of playing. I think it can play in Trick Room with the Auroras. I think it's a pretty good Pokemon with Refrigerate, Hyper Voice, and it can also just play its fast mode with like Whimsicott Tailwind with Azelf, Annihilate, Orgerpon, even like Dracovish. So I think he can play in both modes, which is pretty good. And Smeargle, especially with the Gamma Gate, is something to be really, really scared of because there's a lot of different things you can just run on Smeargle. You can just run pretty much anything you want with this team. So something they have to always deal with. I feel like when like looking at this team, it's gonna be really annoying to prep for because you have to prep for Trick Room, Tailwind, whatever Shedinja and Smeargle are gonna do, and like upon that, like you also have Pokemon like Dracovish, like you maybe have to prep for like the Rain with does he have a Rain Dance user? I think Azelf gets it, but
Smeargle.
oh yeah, true, he has Smeargle. Yeah, true, forgot. How can I forget Smeargle? Not the fastest of Rain Dance users, but he's probably not gonna be running a lot of Rain with Dracovish. It's probably most likely just gonna be Tailwind abusing. But I think most likely though, end of the day, the win con's probably going to be this Ogerpon. I think you can set up this Ogerpon to just keep clicking Ivy Cudgels. It's going to be like pretty insane.
I would also say he's a little weak on the special attacking side. Azelf being the only thing above 107 special attack is a little rough when it's also Azelf is also not necessarily known as a special attacking threat. It gets really cool support options, and if it's always focused on the special attacking side, it won't get to show that part of its sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I think this team comes down to in preparation, you need to make sure that almost every single one of your Pokemon has a lot of coverage in order to be able to hit Shedinja. You don't know if it's going to go that Terra Electric Air Balloon set with a Shed Tail from Smeargle. You don't know if it's going to go like it could go like Terra Water, and then you have Lightning Rod redirection from Rhydon. Uh, um, you need to be careful if you're just relying on Sandstorm because he has Aurora to potentially shut it down. He's got Dracovish to try to de-incentivize you from setting up the sand. Um, I think ultimately this team comes down to can you find answers for the things Shedinja wants to do that also can deal with the rest of his team? And I think the problem is there's a lot that you can do to counter Shedinja that has overlap with other threats you have on your team. Something like Will-O-Wisp obviously is going to work well against Dracovish and Annihilate, not necessarily Ogerpon. And it can hit Shedinja before the Shed Tail, so or if you can manage to get that Shed Tail down. I think it's very important with the Shedinja team that you come out the gates swinging with the Shedinja cheese and make sure everyone knows you have it established, so that way later in the season you could just use it as a prep threat, right? So you can get your other modes to start working and have them waste a lot of the prep on the Shedinja.
I don't think we're gonna really see a lot of Shed Tail because I think the only thing that gets Shed Tail on this team is Smeargle, if I'm correct. And Smeargle's not the
That's it,
fastest
yeah.
Pokemon, obviously at
Yeah.
75. Not to mention the thing is very, very squishy, right? So like one like what's it called, Mach Punch or like any priority move is gonna kill this thing, and it's gonna get to its Focus Sash. And I'm pretty sure if it's at its Focus Sash, I'm pretty sure it cannot set up a Shed Tail. So I
It
don't think,
can't, yeah.
yeah, I don't think we're gonna see Shed Tail with Draco. Oh, sorry, with Shedinja, but there's still plenty of ways he can make Shedinja work, and it is Gamagate, so you know.
I just think that it's something that you do need to be prepared for. That's the thing, right? Like you need to
Yeah,
bring like a mock punch or something with priority in case he's trying to like choice scarf shed tail into Shedinja, and then it becomes a problem.
yeah,
The fact that that thing can Terra is the real menace.
Yeah,
yeah, I would agree. Yeah, overall, I think this team is like I thought it was like the one of the better teams, but I don't think it's the best team. I do still think it's a pretty strong team, and I still think it's probably gonna make the playoffs with Gamegate's help.
Yeah, 100%.
No doubts in the person piloting it, but don't really understand the draft.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. Gamegate's definitely gonna have some funny moments this season for sure with Smeargle on this team and Shedinja especially.
I'm
You
glad
know,
I'm not in his division.
it is really great switching to the video format. I'm just waiting for the Gamagate clip later in the season where we're like doubting the Shedinja, and then he'll like put it in some edit with Shedinja, some song in the background.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next team. The next team we have is Sharky Corp.
Oof, you want to lead
Uh,
us off on this one, Easton?
Sure. Really interesting draft built around the Rillaboom first pick, which I don't think anybody expected. Uh, I'm personally a fan of the team build because I consider this more of a bulky offense, but I do think there's lacking team options, if you know what I mean. The type chart reflects some glaring weaknesses. Um, and the team struggles into Trick Room. I don't understand the Toxapex pickup either, and unfortunately, the Toxapex is also one of his best options for defensively for some of those weaknesses he already has. It's weak to Intimidate. He has a Tailwind setter and Aerodactyl, sure. But and I guess in Hydreigon, but I don't know. The balance part I like. I just think it's extremely physically heavy, so it's very vulnerable to Intimidate. And if the goal is to use Rillaboom to help enable Metagross with the weakness policy Bulldoze under grassy terrain, it's obviously a cool combo, but not one you can rely on every week.
yeah. Initially when I saw this team, I didn't know what to really think of it. If it's like a strong team or like a weaker team. I feel like this team's just like an average team. It has like a decent balance core, some pretty good damage dealers, and like Metagross has pretty high damage. Surledge with its Swords Dance and Flash Fire sets, and even Greninja, Gallade too with Sharpness can hit pretty hard. But overall, as a core, I think it's a pretty fine balanced core. He has decently fast Pokemon with like Greninja, Aerodactyl, and Raikou, but I don't know if this team has a Tailwind setter. I would imagine Aerodactyl and maybe Hydreigon gets
Aerodactyl.
Tailwind.
Yep.
Aerodactyl and Hydreigon get Tailwind, I
Yeah,
believe.
so that's probably one way of playing it. And then I think the Rillaboom Bolo's weakness policy set that you mentioned, Easton, is pretty cool tech. I didn't think about that one. But yeah, I think this team's just like, in my opinion, just like an average team. Has decent damage dealers and a decent core, and I think this team is just going to be probably based on execution and like positioning.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I may have ranked this team a little too low. I think looking at it now, it's not. It's just there's nothing really standing out to me, and it's just amazing to me that with the triple Dark type, the typings really don't look that bad, right? I think you have good counterplay with, oh, they're gonna bring the fairy type. Okay, I have Metagross, bring your fairy type. I have
Yeah,
Ceruledge, bring your fairy type. Oh, they're gonna bring a dark type from a Metagross and Ceruledge. I have three dark types, you know.
yeah,
So it's kind of interesting the way things play around. I think Crocodile, one of the better ground types that doesn't need to use Earthquake, is a good choice to bring with Rillaboom. I think it does have some alright Tailwind options with Aerodactyl and Hydreigon. I'm really big on the versatility of Hydreigon too. The thing can do a lot of different things. The Toxapex is a little weird for me. Maybe a little bit of a Trick Room threat idea, but I don't think. I mean, the thing doesn't necessarily hit the hardest. It's just very bulky. So I think maybe it's just going to function outside of the Trick Room, taking hits, maybe trying to get some poisons off. Not entirely sure, but I think middle of the pack team for me. Nothing crazy, but I think it's a very good balanced team that can be executed really well and and I think it can see some playoff success.
yeah. I'd agree. As long as he executes decently well, I could definitely see this team making the playoffs. It has the pieces. It has like a pretty strong core. But I kind of like your point that like there's no like real like standouts on this draft.
Nothing where you go, oh my god, like how do I deal with this? Or this
Yeah,
thing's a big threat.
yeah. You just have like your overall just like decent coverage, decent threatening Pokemon like Metagross, Gallade, Greninja, stuff
Almost
like this.
almost reminds me of an Easton team in the sense that I feel like any Pokemon can come each week. Besides, maybe the Toxapex is a little homeless, but
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
definitely an Easton team, and he will have to be a little bit creative in the team building against certain matchups. But um, definitely a reasonable balanced team to play with options. Just have to be careful a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely think with this team, like you said, you definitely probably gonna have to go more on the creative side and like maybe having a little bit of surprise factor and like maybe surprising some people on some interesting sets, maybe. But overall, I think it's like you guys said, decent balanced core team. So we'll see what happens and see how he plays with this team. All right. I think this is the last team, I believe.
This is
Talo
the last one,
Swifts.
yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Um, Part of this draft looks amazing with and I'm referring to the Goldengo or Shifu Naganadel Tornadus.
Yep.
That part looks amazing. Stack Attacka for the upteenth season in a row looks like it's wasted on this team. Not sure what its value here is because none of the Pokemon on this team want to go to Under Trick Room. And yeah, I don't understand the Zatu either. I understand some of the support that it can provide, but it's much better in singles than in doubles. The single ghost resist on this team is a little bit off, but I mean one of the weaknesses for ghost comes from that Zatu, which may not even see a game this season.
Yeah.
Um, the Tornadus absolutely fixes the speed problem this team has, which outside of Naganadel is not, and Tornadus itself is not extremely fast. So Prankster Tailwind, extremely high value. Rotom Wash and Swampert as defensive options, very high value. But this team also has no fake out, so it's going to be heavily reliant on Clefairy's Follow Me and Friend Guard ability to set up either Tailwind or whatever it wants on the field to get this team going.
Yeah, I would agree. I think your main core definitely is going to be this Tornadus, Urshifu, Goldingo, Naganadel side. You just have Tornadus like fix the speed tiers with its Tailwind Prankster, and just like Goldingo and Urshifu, Naganadel just like hit as hard as they can for as long as they can. But yeah, there is definitely some interesting Pokemon here, like Xatu. I'm not sure what Xatu will be doing this season. I guess like it has Trick Room Prison, but I guess Takataka also gets that, so I'm not sure if that's needed. But yeah, it's an interesting team. I just mainly see this team as like you send out Tornadus, Urshifu, Goldingo, Naganadel, let it do its damage, and then you have like decent defensive options with like Rotom Wash, Swampert, maybe some redirection with Friend Guard, Clefairy. Sakataka, I do like understand that there's no real Trick Room threat with this team. Like, doesn't want to be in Trick Room, but this thing also can deteriorate Trick Room from like becoming a thing because yeah, it is the slowest Pokemon in the format with an insane BST. So like 131 attack, 211 defense. So if you ever set up Trick Room, like you better have a check for this thing because this thing is gonna be really fucking difficult to beat. And outside of Trick Room, I still think Sakataka still can perform pretty well with its what's called great defenses. So even if it's not faster, it's still can prevent help out with like the offense and like be like a pretty decently hitting truck.
yeah, I was gonna say the Stack Attacker for me, I actually kind of really like on this team personally, just because I think it is a Trick Room deterrent when you really want to always be running that Prankster Tailwind mode. I think teams are incentivized to bring Trick Room into you, and the Stack Attacker does a good job of deterring that. And I think it can work outside of Trick Room as well. It's just like kind of almost like a Snorlax where you're just you're really bulky, and you're just gonna hit with body press after taking whatever hit and do a ton back. It also gets Ally Switch, which I think is some pretty good tech to use. I think I'm with you guys. The Zatu doesn't really fit here with me. it can set Trick Room with the Magic Bounce to help work with Sakataka, so it's less susceptible to that taunt. The Florigis also doesn't make a ton of sense for me. It doesn't really have the photosynthesis or quark drive user I want to see for that easy symbiosis trigger to give something to give it another item.
Hmm.
I almost want to see like a screened user on this team. Florigis might get screens. I'm not sure. Um, Rotom does, I guess, but I'd almost want to see like a better screen user on this team to work with the stack Attacka, and work with like another balance mode with this team, just letting the team take hits and hit back really hard. And I think a fake out user, as Easton said, would really help this team out. I almost wonder if Apom, it might sound troll, but Apom instead of the Zatu to give you fake out and give you a ghost immunity
EV
when
like
you have,
Apom.
yeah, might help the team out a bit. But I still think this team is just really strong, just by factor of the Tornadus Urshifu Golden Goat Naganadel
Yeah.
core, as you guys said, where it's going to come in, it's going to click Tailwind, and it's going to click strong moves, and your opponent's going to need to find a way out of that.
Even though Florges does not look like it like belongs on this team, you still probably need like a fairy type, obviously, right? So it's still like a fairy
Yeah,
type, right? You still
Clefairy.
want to have a fairy. Oh, and Clefairy, I forgot too. Yeah, that is a fairy type. So, yeah, I do. I like your point though on the Zatu Trick Room. I guess you have like a mini Trick Room mode with like maybe Zatu, Stack Attack, or Clefairy, Florges. Could be like a small Trick Room. Maybe you could add how fast is Swampert? Maybe Swampert can join in on that with 60. So maybe you have like a small Trick Room team. Like Zatu can set up Trick Room pretty well with the Magic Bounce. But yeah, I don't think this team is going to be really wanting to set up Trick Room very often. It's most likely just want to click Prankster Tailwind and just click its damaging moves that it has.
Yeah, I think a screen, once again, I do think Rotom gets screens. Not sure about Florges.
Florges gets
Probably
light
does.
screen, Rotom Wash gets both.
Rotom Wash gets both. Okay. Like maybe maybe Rotom, maybe like a slightly better screen setter if there's something available.
Yeah.
Would make a really nice balance mode for this team too. I also see like the Naganadel old I think it was Batman mode from
Yeah.
Riddle Cup, right? Where you're just clicking Sludge Wave with Golden Go and Stock Attacka.
Yeah, he would use Poipole and collect Sludge Wave after Cottony sets up the Prankster Tailwind and just like I think week one I don't know who he was playing, but he definitely surprised somebody and he just clicked Sludge Wave and just deleted like 3 Pokemon at once.
I almost want to see I mean I don't want to be on the other end of it, but the Naganadel Sludge Wave plus Make It Rain combos got be
That gotta be
brutal.
pretty nasty, yeah. But yeah, overall, I can see this team making playoffs just by the default of Tornadus, Urshifu, Golding, and all that core is like really strong. And
Yeah, this is an upper half team for me for sure.
yeah, I have to agree. Any closing remarks, Easton?
No, I'm good.
All right, that is the last team. So here's our draft rankings. So New York no, we have McFeed's overall first place. Pretty interesting. Then New York Yankees with Julian Jumpluffs.
Yeah, I think we see a lot of agreement in terms of the top teams. I think I was really high on the Dueling Jumpluffs. Um, am a little low on Strick's team, but
Yep.
uh,
You, you good?
no, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry, yeah. No, I was just gonna say, what's it called? I also think I rated maybe Julian Jumpluff's team a little bit low. Like now, when I was thinking about it again and again, I definitely can see how strong that team is and how many flexible options it has. And I feel like this is probably for me personally, after like 8 seasons, probably one of the hardest seasons to rank. I feel like there's a lot of like solid teams, and I feel like a lot of teams are like kind of like meshed together, like at the middle slash lower end of the tier. And I guess part of the reason why it made it really hard is because in the past, because like we used to write these content before the seasons, right? And after writing, it gave me like a lot of ideas on like what teams I liked and what teams I didn't. Because I was not writing about it, not thinking about it. It's like you kind of have to like make your decisions like kind of on the fly and like not really thinking about it like too much about it compared to like if you're writing, you're gonna be really thinking about like the weaknesses and the positives for the teams. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
You seem pretty low on Waters Whoopers too here. Is there any reason for that? Is it just because you didn't like the changes, so you put them a little lower?
Yeah, I did put them a little bit lower. I did like some of the teams above it. I did not like the church. I think the teams are pretty good. Maybe I rated them a little bit too low, but who knows? Maybe I give them that curse. Just like I'm about to give that Gambit curse on the second slide where I have Smeargle Wizard Money Gang first place. So I will admit probably way too high on that, but at the very least, we're giving Gambit that curse, so I don't have to play on round one of the playoffs. Maybe he just doesn't even make playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easton, any comments on the Smeargle team? Just I know you were the kind of neutral option on it, not sure really what the team was gonna do. But do you think you're like too high, too low, or?
I think I'm about right, because if someone other than Gameg was piloting this team, it might be 16th.
Yeah.
Because it might be the most difficult team to make work. And I don't doubt that Gameg can make it work, so that kind of factors a little bit into the draft rankings. And I like the ideas more than some of the teams I've rated lower, but it's hard for me to know what to make up for it.
Yeah.
Both you guys a little lower than me too on the dugongs. Not sure what your thoughts were there. I thought obviously I think we all agree that it was better than the Fortress Trick Room draft. But I thought there was just a little more there. I know you guys. I think we were talking a little bit the lack of special attackers on that team, or maybe a
Yeah.
lack of ways to get up the Trick Room.
Yeah, that team was the Ursula Iron Bundle Blue Bonnet Volcarona team. So he's like the Trick Room team, but I think what we said about that team was he didn't really have like a fast offensive mode really, because like he had Bundle and Volcarona, and like I guess there's nothing really else I can play in that fast mode. Like Rock Dust obviously too, but I think we were talking about how Froliger just kind of doesn't fit on this team.
Yeah, the Gator pick was maybe not the correct one. The fast mode is okay, but the team is really more geared towards Trick Room, and I wasn't very high on the Registeel pick. I'm a Registeel enjoyer. I know what it can do. It's not really providing the support that I would think that this team requires. It's just there to be a steel type to provide some defensive capabilities. And while that can be fine, I feel like the team is still maybe missing that one piece that can really elevate it for me. And I don't really know what that is, but it's the reason I have it rated on the bottom half.
Yeah, I also see you guys have oh my wallet at 14, where I have it a little bit higher at 12. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, Kiora always has interesting drafts, and this is one that I'm personally not a big fan of. Um, yes, there's multiple options, but I still feel the speed tiers are a little bit slow, and he does kind of require Tailwind for that speed mode to work. If he gets the screen set up for Glastrier ready, like it can certainly do a lot of damage, but I also worry about rock spam against this team with the 5 rock weaknesses,
Hmm.
and Nidoking not necessarily going to be a defensive bring every week to prevent it,
Yeah,
right? Um, I can see I see the vision. I understand how it'll work, but for me, the draft is towards the bottom.
I see.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just I think Glastrier, like you said, Glastrier needs to do a lot of work, and for me, the work you have to do to even get Glastrier in the place to be able to do that seems a little bit of an uphill battle.
Gotcha. The other thing I see here is I had Fortress 16th, and you guys had 10th, 13th. Maybe I was a little bit too low on this draft, but the biggest thing that like maybe like kind of low on this draft was like the trick room setting problem, plus the fact that he had like zero resistance to like pretty important types like Dragon, Fairy, and Fighting. And that's like kind of though maybe I was a little bit harsh, but like that's like a really big problem for me on this team.
I just can't rank the Iron Hands, Ursaluna, Blood Moon, Porygon 2 Incineroar core any lower than this because of how strong it can be just with those 4. My biggest reason for why I have it this low in the draft is the supporting cast. The lack of additional Trick Room, not knowing why Sceptile was drafted, overlapping roles with Rampardos and Conkelder. Um, I just think there's pickups this team needs to make in order for it to be higher. I just can't rank it lower with that core being as strong as it is, and I think it beats out the teams below it in terms of just that core.
I
Yeah,
see.
I think in retrospect, I think I was a little high on Fortress and maybe a little low on Call Me Cloddy as we were reviewing the teams there. Um, I agree with Easton. The core is just so strong, and that's what led me to rank it so, as high as I did here. But I think just having your only Trick Room setter as the Porygon and having a lot of counterplay into it when that team really needs to get Trick Room up is a little scary. And I really did come up on Claudia's draft as we were reviewing it there. I do like the balance he's got going on.
Yeah, I think I
The
definitely
Ninetales edition really saved the team. I would have had
100%.
it. I would have had it much lower ranked without the Ninetales.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think I maybe a little bit too harsh on the Fortress. I think the core is definitely probably insane. Still can probably take wins, but yeah. I guess we'll see how that works. Maybe he proves me wrong. Any
Yeah.
other any other things you guys got?
No, I think that's it.
Uh,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say the only closing remark I want to make is for the D1 Dittos, definitely don't take this wrong that your draft is ranked 16th overall between the three of us. You have options on how you can play your team. You may just need to review free agency a little bit and reduce how many different modes this team has to give yourself a little bit of focus and figure out how best to pilot it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and any team ranked low, it should be said here and now, there has been plenty of times people ranked really low on the power rankings preseason come out and prove the rankers wrong. They just absolutely smash their division and say, "What were you guys thinking?" So
Yeah, yeah.
this is your sign to prove us wrong, please.
And just as an example of that, the season I won with was it season 2? I was ranked like 13th or 14th at the start of the season with my draft. And without changing that draft, I still managed to reach the championship. So don't think that a subjective review like we're doing now is exactly how it's going to result in games. It's how you pilot the draft that's the most important and how you can make the most out of your Pokemon.
Yep, definitely agree with that. As we close out this podcast, is there any shout outs you guys would like to do or any last closing remarks?
Last closing remark for me is for anybody that is new, because we have a lot of new people in the draft this season. Make sure you are double checking the PDL info tab under the Pokemon Draft League and the Titan Esports Discord. There are a lot of resources there that can help you with team building, and even reviewing past format usage of Pokemon in draft may help you figure out things you can do with your team. But also never hesitate to reach out to anybody, especially any of the old guys that have been in the PDL for quite some time. Myself and Thunder have been here. Well, I've been here since the beginning. Thunder's been here since almost the beginning, and even CocoPuffs. I speak for myself and maybe for all three of us that we don't. Our DMs are open if anybody wants team building advice. We're always happy to help out where we can.
Yeah, 100%. I'm the new guy on the block, but I have poured a lot of time into this.
Yep.
The ADHD has really kicked in with Pokemon the past few seasons, and I've learned a lot. So I may not be the end all be all in terms of Pokemon knowledge. I mean, I got like 3 things wrong in terms of moves and abilities in this podcast. So, but I'm always down to just look at your draft and give you my thoughts. So, or look at your team prep.
Yep. As for me, I definitely agree with Easton. Take a look at the PDL info. A lot of info there, especially the team builder. That team builder sheet is really, really like useful and can help you with a lot of different things. Just make sure you double check with Showdown to make sure, like, because I know sometimes it doesn't show the moves there properly. Like Meowstic, for example, does not show Fake Out and Trick Room and Prison on my sheet for some reason. But yeah, I think that sheet can be very, very helpful when team building. And yeah, I definitely agree with Easton. My DMs are open. If you ever need help, I can always assist and give my thoughts. I'm pretty sure these two are also the same. And yeah, if that's it, we're gonna wrap up the Kanto Conference post draft breakdown. Thanks for tuning into this episode of the PDL podcast. Big thanks to CocoPuffs and Easton for joining me today. We got an exciting season ahead of us in PDL, so good luck to all the coaches, and we'll catch you next time right on the PDL podcast whenever that happens. See you later, guys.
Hi guys.
Peace, everybody.